You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hello, fans. I'm LaMichael Mitchell, and you're listening to the official podcast of Minor League Baseball, the Show Before the Show podcast.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. As we get rolling, every once in a while, we'll record our opening segment after we record an interview. I shouldn't say every once in a while. It's like fairly often. But we just recorded an interview, which you are going to hear here in a little bit. But now I'm like so juiced for this episode because the interview was so fun. It set us off on a very good note for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. And we should have known that it was going to be a big time episode because all three of us are wearing collared shirts, which I don't think has ever happened in the history of this show. We're making waves today, fellas. My name is Tyler Mon. Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra are collared and in New York City. Two things that are true. Hello, dudes. What's going on?
Hey, Tyler. Yeah, when we all get arrested for the crimes we've been committing, collared is going to be a great tabloid headline. And I won't get into those crimes until we were caught.
You're the one wearing a white collar. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, well, I'm going to the minimum security.
True. I have a blue collar on. It's going to be rough for me. Sam's in like a plaid. I don't know where Sam's going.
You can't put me in a box, Tyler. That's what
Sam's going to like a black site somewhere. He's going to be flown under cover of night to some weird place. Well, among our strangest introductions, welcome in to the Show podcast. We have so much fun stuff to get into today. We're going to be making not one, but two trips to AAA International League franchises on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. First up, we're going to head to Charlotte and talk with Tommy Viola and LaMichael Mitchell, a Charlotte Knights super fan. We'll catch up with them coming up here in a little bit. And then we'll talk with the St. Paul Saints about their Bobblelection in 2024, which the change to the presidential election field did not just affect the actual presidential election, but also
and more importantly,
and all of that. But also bobblehead voting, because if you got to order bobbleheads, you do them with the people that you anticipate are going to be the candidates months ago. And then sometimes you have like a bobblehead election and one of the candidates is no longer running. So kind of a funny situation for St. Paul. But let's get rolling on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. We're going to talk about the Minor League Baseball Awards in 2024. Benjamin Hill talking some MiLB Awards earlier today, recording an awards segment for the MiLB Awards show, which will be coming up on MLB Network on September 30th. And one of the categories that we are set to dive into today is the top minor league baseball alternate identity, best alternate identity here in 2024. We have 7 nominees. Ben, take it away. Give us the lowdown on the very difficult choice. Do we do ranked choice voting for this? How does this work?
It should be ranked choice. That is a more democratic outcome. But yes, this is, I believe, Sam, is it the only category in the MiLB Awards show that is open to fan voting? I believe so. So while the rest of the categories are being picked behind closed doors in the proverbial smoky rooms, this one is open to the people
of minor league baseball. Sam and Ben sit there and they curry favor as they hand out the awards, but this one goes to the people.
That's right. You know, we throw a bone to the plebeians, the hoi polloi,
the commoners,
the commoners.
Hoi polloi.
I've been wanting to use that for a long time. So yes, you can vote on these 7 nominees. The Wichita Chili Buns. You might remember us talking about this on this show way back, right before the start of the season. The Wichita Wind Surge dropped this right before the start of the season, and then they wore this over 2 games in April. The Chili Bun is chili topped with a cinnamon roll. So a hearty tribute to a Midwest favorite, the Wichita chili buns. We have the Chattanooga Wreckers, because did you know? I did not know this. It was a Chattanoogan man named Ernest Holmes Sr. who invented the Wrecker, which is a predecessor to the tow truck, by attaching a chain pulley and poles to his 1913 Cadillac. And to this day, the towing industry is huge in Chattanooga because Holmes went up on to start like the first towing company. And that still exists today. And there's also, I learned, like the International Towing Museum in the city of Chattanooga. And I've been to Chattanooga a few times and I missed out on that. So next time you're in Chattanooga, go to the Towing Museum. Anyhow, the Lookouts saluted all that with the Chattanooga Wreckers identity. That is our second nominee. We have the Winston-Salem Hype Hens. Last year they suited up as the Hyphens, referencing the dash between Winston and Salem, which is also a hyphen. Now they're the Hype Hens. So that plays on hyphens, obviously, but also, and I was there this season, I can attest, they really built this identity out. They have a in ballpark chicken coop on the outfield concourse with 7 Hype Hens currently living in it, and it's called the Hype Hens Chicken Coop. So you got to respect the Dash for not only having a chicken-based alternate identity, but for having, and it's a great chicken coop. There's a lot of room for those chickens to move. They lay eggs. Unprecedented. I've never seen a chicken coop at a ballpark. The Jersey Diners. I don't want to editorialize, but a lot of chatter that this one's the favorite. We'll see come voting day, but Jersey Diners, aka the Somerset Patriots, they're in Central Jersey. New Jersey's the center of the diner universe, huge diner culture in New Jersey, and they did a phenomenal job with this identity with all their alternate marks. But of course, the primary mark is a smiling coffee cup. But that was a very well received alternate identity this year. The Great Lakes Pontooners. They play in Midland, Michigan, a lot of lakes nearby. And Michigan in the summer, it's short, it's sweet. People try to maximize their outdoor time. So a lot of time spent on those lakes in these pleasure boats, pontoons. And they were the Pontooners, real crisp identity there, celebrating the summer. And I believe they actually had a pontoon group seating area when they played as the Pontooners. They got a real pontoon out on the concourse. The Biloxi King Cakes. R.I.P. the New Orleans Baby Cakes, but if you miss them, at least the Biloxi Shuckers did their King Cakes identity. Biloxi, doesn't have the reputation of New Orleans when it comes to Mardi Gras, but they have the largest Mardi Gras celebration in the state of Mississippi, and a king cake is one of the foods associated with that time of celebration. They are customizable desserts made with a cinnamon roll style dough and all sorts of different colorful icing and topping. And then I believe some of the king cakes have a baby in them, which is why New Orleans team was named the Baby Cakes. And finally, Spokane King Carl, one of the most specific alternate identities, also one of the most well done. Carl Maxey was a collegiate boxing standout in the Spokane area who went on to become a prominent trial lawyer and civil rights leader. So the Spokane Indians developed a whole identity around Carl Maxey, devoted to his life and legacy. The primary logo is a boxing glove with a crown on it to celebrate his accomplishments in the boxing ring, but more importantly, his accomplishments in society at large through his long and impactful career. So those are the 7 identities, all of them very good. There could have been many more included, but we had to cap it at 7 for these awards. Vote now, make your voice heard, and tune in to the MiLB Award Show on MLB Network on Monday, September 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the only time zone that matters.
That was the most Eastern time zone thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're following through with it. September 30th. Yes, that is coming up on MLB Network. We already know Sam's voting for the Jersey Diner. How many votes have you cast for the Jersey Diner, Sam?
Just the one, because I want to keep this straight to democracy. One person, one vote.
Not like an old timey Chicago election from
On the record, no.
Yep. Vote early and vote often in the 1910 Chicago mayoral primary or something. Well, all of that stuff, you can find the details at MiLB.com. MLB.com/MILB. You can vote for the best alternate identity in minor league baseball. And then, of course, coming up on the 30th is the 2024 MILB Awards show. All right, you guys, it is minor league postseason time, as insane as that is. We did talk a little bit about the minor league playoffs last week, but as Sam noted, as soon as we were going to talk about anything specific, it was all going to be changed by the time that we released the episode. But now we're starting to crown champions. The Lake County Captains getting a Midwest League title for the first time since 2010. Travis Bazzana, the first overall pick in the Major League First-Year Player Draft this year, helping to lead Lake County to that title. Sam, give us an update on what's going on around the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we've crowned champions in the high A and single A levels. All 6 leagues are now complete. So there's no more single A or high A baseball remaining. We have 6 champions. Tyler, as you mentioned, Lake County winning the Midwest League is a good place to start because of #1 overall pick, Travis Bazzana. Ran kind of hot and cold for the Captains throughout his time there. It's understandable, a long college season, but rode it out at high A the entire way, helped them defeat the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers 2-1 in a best-of-3 series. In the South Atlantic League, the Bowling Green Hot Rods defeated the Hudson Valley Renegades 2-1 in a best-of-3. And that's notable because the Hot Rods, that is their 4th championship in the last 6 years. We consistently talk about how the Tampa Bay Rays develop really good prospects. They always have a deep system. And sometimes we talk about how winning doesn't matter. That's not true of the Rays. Year in and year out, they are using that depth to its best potential and building winners at the lower level. So by the time they reach St. Petersburg, they know what winning feels like. And, you know, we'll talk about this in a little bit as well, but AA Montgomery is still in the Southern League playoffs. So this is going level by level. The Rays are typically competitive. The Bowling Green Hot Rods may be the star of that system once again with a South Atlantic League title. The Northwest League was wrapped up. Spokane defeated Vancouver 3-1 in a best-of-5. There were no semifinals, division series, any of that. It was just Spokane versus Vancouver in a best-of-5. Over in single A, the Modesto Nuts defeated the Lake Elsinore Storm. That's a Mariners affiliate, defeating a Padres affiliate 2-1 in the best-of-3. Modesto
Ride, by the way, for Modesto. This time, like 2-3 months ago, we thought like, oh, it's the last season for the Nuts. Now they're back in Modesto in 2025. They're winning playoff series. It's been a nice turnaround, a good glow up, as the kids say, over the last few months for the
Juggernauts.
Juggernauts. Oh man, I keep writing Juggernaut because they were a real juggernaut in the first half, and I never wrote Juggernauts. That's because I don't have Ben's wit, apparently. But the Modesto Nuts not only winning on top of all that news that you're talking about, Tyler, but this is a repeat title for the Modesto Nuts. So when they are playing back in Modesto in 2025, they will be going for a three-peat in the Mariners system. Obviously, many of those guys on this year's team will have moved on by that point. You look at who are already moved on from their first half division crown. Lazaro Montez moved up to high A. Colt Emerson moved up to high A. Aiden Smith had been traded to the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, this team did not have as much talent in the second half as it did in the first half, and you saw that reflected in the records. But because of the postseason situation, if you win the first half, you already punch your ticket. They got their ticket and they made the most of it, winning 4 of 5 games between the division series and the championship series. In the Carolina League, the Fredericksburg Nationals defeated the Kannapolis Cannonballers 2-1 in a best-of-3. Travis Sikora, who is a breakout prospect in the Nat system, now a top 100 prospect through 5 scoreless innings. I think he struck out 9 in 5 scoreless. One of the best pitching performances in minor league baseball all season long for Travis Sikora. Was a prominent 2023 pick for the Nats. Really good fastball, really good splitter. Slider could be an above average pitch too. Was racking up strikeouts all year. Probably could have been promoted to high A Wilmington at some point, but for him to pitch in a clincher in game 3 and pitch as well as he did was huge for the Fred Nats and getting their first title, I believe, since 2010. It's their first crown since relocation.
And I believe the first, well, yeah.
Yeah, since they moved from becoming the Potomac Nationals to the Fredericksburg Nationals, is their first title as the Fred Nats. So that's pretty big for that organization, especially since so much of our attention has been paid to James Wood and Dylan Cruz and Brady House. These guys either in the major leagues or knocking on the door. the Nats are trying to build a big foundation, not just with those guys up top. So getting Travis Sakura, a ring is huge. Getting somebody like Elijah Green, who was a huge pick for them a few years ago and has struck out a lot and hasn't worked out the way they would have hoped, but can provide help with his speed and his defense. And if he hits a ball, it goes a long way. So getting those guys a ring is a big part of the Washington rebuild. The Palm Beach Cardinals had the best winning percentage of any full season team during the regular season. They win the Florida State League title over the Lakeland Flying Tigers, 2-1. That team was highlighted by JJ Weatherholt, who was the 7th overall pick by the Cardinals this year out of West Virginia, was mentioned as a potential number 1 overall pick, right alongside Travis Bazzana, but actually ended up dropping to the Cardinals at 7. They kept him in the Florida State League ever since. I think part of that is just having him close by the facility, allowing everybody to watch him, let him get comfortable in Jupiter in that West Palm Beach area, and then, dominate like he did. I mean, that's huge for him to end the year as strongly as he did. Hits the ball hard, was dealing with hamstring injuries in the spring. Those didn't seem to pop up on the pro side. Now he gets a ring to end his first full season. That's pretty cool for him to carry in. So those are the 6 champions that we have crowned so far in the minor league postseason. The AA postseason is ongoing right now. Same caveats that we talked about last week. All of these series could very well end tonight on Thursday. And be changed by the time you guys hear this, but just to run through them real quick. In the Eastern League, Somerset leads a best-of-3 series against Hartford 1-0. Erie is leading Akron 1-0. Erie won the Eastern League title last year. We actually had them on afterwards to talk about that and how big of a series win that was for the Seawolves. They are 1 win away from getting back to the Eastern League Championship Series against Akron. In the Southern League, it's Birmingham versus Tennessee. Tennessee has a 1-0 lead in that one. Montgomery, who we talked about before, a lot of top 100 prospects, Xavier Isaac, Braden Taylor, Carson Williams on that roster, along with guys like Trey Morgan, who are standouts, and Chandler Simpson, who was the minor league stolen base leader and average leader this year. The Biscuits lead Biloxi 1-0 so far. We'll see how things go from there. The game 2 is in Montgomery, so Biscuits could have an advantage. And then in the Texas League, Springfield Cardinals have a lead 1-0 over the Arkansas Travelers in the North Division. And then in the South Division, it's the Midland Rockhounds, an A's affiliate, leading the Frisco Rough Riders, a Rangers affiliate, 1-0 so far. So those championship series will be decided either tonight or tomorrow, one way or another. They're all best of 3s. If you're hearing this over the weekend, check out milb.com/events/playoffs for everything up to date. And then we're going to obviously keep an eye out in the International League and the Pacific Coast League. Both of those are already decided. We already know who's won the first half and the second half there. Sugarland and Reno on the PCL side, and Omaha and Columbus on the IL side. So that sets up a AAA national championship game on September 28th in Las Vegas. But that's what we'll be talking about next week, of who's going to take those crowns from the IL and PCL.
And speaking of that game, y'all are stuck with me. I'll be on the call for that AAA championship game on MLB Network. Jim Callis of MLB Pipeline also going to be part of that broadcast. Super excited. I'm really excited to see Las Vegas ballpark. I've only been to Las Vegas once as like a grown-up, but I didn't like do anything. I was there for like a different work things like 10 years ago. So I'm very excited to like go see Las Vegas ballpark and then go people watch and probably melt to a sidewalk somewhere in Las Vegas because it's 130 degrees 100% of the year in Las Vegas.
Was the other time you went when you went on vacation with your father, Chevy Chase, or was that just one of the
yeah.
Okay.
And
there was a camera crew that followed you guys around and
gave my dad this ticket because he won, and then he slumped over in his seat. I won. Man, anybody who hasn't seen Vegas Vacation is very confused right now. I used to look a lot like Ethan Embry. Okay, you guys, well, that's what's going on in the minor league baseball playoff landscape, and it is time for our interviews on this week's episode. And Ben, we got a fun one coming up first.
Yeah, you'll hear all about it. So there's not much for me to say except to say that this is a great interview. Charlotte Knights superfan LaMichael Mitchell, honored with his own night at the ballpark, and he is joined by the Knights VP of Communications, Tommy Viola, to talk about the special night at the ballpark honoring the team's biggest fan. Last week, on September 12th, the Charlotte Knights hosted LaMichael Mitchell night at the ballpark. Who is LaMichael Mitchell, and why did the Knights do this? Well, we've got two people, the two best people, to find out more about it. We have Tommy Viola, the Vice President of Communications for the Charlotte Knights, and we have LaMichael Mitchell himself. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
So LaMichael Mitchell, we'll hear it from him, but he is the Charlotte Knights' #1 fan, huge fan of Charlotte sports in general, and a huge Charlotte Knights booster. He's been a presence at the ballpark for decades now, beloved throughout the sports community. And you guys had LaMichael Mitchell night. So before we get into the specifics of the night, LaMichael, if you could just tell us a little bit about your background and when you started going to Knights games and how your relationship with the team developed.
Well, I was born in 1984, and my relationship with the Knights got started back in the early 90s when Homer used to visit some of the elementary schools in the Charlotte area. And along that time, I began following the Knights in the paper with how the team did at home or on the road, win or lose. Then right around their championship season in 1993, I decided to get involved with going to some games. So in 1994, my parents usually took me down to Fort Mill to see the Knights. And from that moment, it started to click off that the Knights would be one of my favorite baseball teams. And in the 30 years I've followed the team, the Knights have been a special part of my life. So it's great to have the Knights as one of my favorite teams in the Charlotte area.
Yeah, and as I said, you're known at the ballpark, and one thing you're definitely known for at the ballpark is you keep score, meticulous score at every game, and sometimes you provide your own calls of the game too, do your own, from the stands broadcasting, and I've heard some of them, very professionally done. So when did you start keeping score at games, and then, how did your other ballpark routine start to develop over the years?
Well, I first started keeping score when I was 12 years old back in 1996, and I was learning from the different positions on the field and how each player scored. And in the years that followed, I started to build upon it to the point I started to making my own scorebooks and get involved by scoring the game using a different color-coded method. And whenever I miss a play, I usually have the MiLB app to go back and see what the play was and put it in my scorebook, since I totally don't want to miss a thing whenever I'm at the concessions and stuff. But it's pretty cool to keep score whenever I'm at a game, and it is a lost start. And I'm glad to be one of those few fans to keep score of Knights games whenever I come out to the ballpark.
I feel like we're going to have to clip that part and use it as part of a MiLB app commercial at some point. Talking about the usefulness of the app. I love hearing about that. But talking about you being there for 30 years now, I mean, just how has the experience of going to a minor league baseball game changed in those 3 decades, and specifically with the Knights and their newish stadium at this point?
Well, when the years I went to Knights games in Fort Mill from 1994 until 2013, it was kind of like a great experience, but nothing better for me to finally come out to this great ballpark in Uptown, which is Tourist Field, and to have a great backdrop of the skyline every night. Because back then, it was just nothing but farmland in Fort Mill during the years that the Knights played there. And when the team moved uptown, I decided to start going to games uptown there, which is pretty closer and convenient for everyone. They have a prime location in uptown Charlotte for fans to get to the games, either through public transportation or by driving. And to have Tourist Field in this area of Charlotte is very special. And it's a great place to come to the game for me. And I love the ballpark as much as I used to love Knight Stadium, which is still holds a special place in my heart with all the memories and all the games I've been there. And Tourist Field is very cool to me. And it celebrated its 10th anniversary. And I'm glad to have been there for all 10 years of its existence. And it's just a great facility in all of minor league baseball, kind of like a crown jewel of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we hear a lot from folks who visit just for one night a season, and you're there, 80 plus times a year, or 75 plus times a year. What do you recommend people check out when they go to Truist Field, and what should they seek out specifically when they visit?
There's a lot of different amenities at Truist Field. Of course, we got the home run porch in the right field, and there's got around concourse of the play area. And usually the concourse in left field is a really good place to catch home run balls whenever they land onto the concourse. So it's pretty important to bring your glove because you never know when a home run ball may come your way and you're at the ballpark. And it's also the good areas as well, like the seats around the first and third base line, especially the third base line. We should get a great view of the skyline because no matter where you sit at the ballpark, you get a great backdrop of the Charlotte skyline.
Michael, you get a very limited designation as a guy with his own bobblehead now. Tell me about as the Knights got in touch with you, and we'll talk to Tommy about this too. But when did they first approach you about potentially doing Superfan Night, and what was the process like for you, especially when you first heard about it? Like, I would imagine that's just about the coolest thing. And then to know that you were getting your own bobblehead, did you have to did they do like a 3D scan of you? Did you get to decide how you were going to be posed or what you were going to be wearing? Take us through this whole thing.
Well, it all started when I came out for batting practice back in July with the team, and it was pretty fun. You catch a shag some balls in the outfield and get in the batting cage and take some hacks. And then when it ended, Rob Egan, our general manager, approached me and he surprised me that they were going to do a whole night devoted to me. And when they showed me this bobblehead that they presented to me, I was very pleased and excited. And it kind of resembled me doing what I'm doing, keeping score. And then when the announcement was made, everybody was congratulating me on social media, that that was going to happen. And I wasn't expecting this, but it's pretty cool to see the Knights do that honor for me, to this bobblehead, and to have a special night last week, which was absolutely very amazing to see a good bunch of my friends I knew from high school and some I know over the years come out to the ballpark and celebrate me on this honor.
Oh man, that's so cool that you got to share it too, being a Charlotte area guy, that you got to have people around, who mean so much to you. I have to ask you, you're depicted keeping score in the bobblehead, as you noted, and you mentioned to us a little bit ago, you keep color-coded score, which I do also. So now I have to know your color coding scheme. I have to know how you do it and what each color signifies in your scorebook.
But whenever I keep score, I usually use a multicolored pen to keep track of the games. For example, for red pen, I use it for strikeouts, the left-handed hitters, any errors. For blue is for technically home runs, and for switch hitters, the green is for walks, and for black is for hits and outs. It's something that I picked up from the team's broadcaster, Matt Swerad, several years ago. He uses the method to keep score, and I adopted that method, and it's been helping me out pretty well to know which players are on the field and how each play is recorded. If for strikeouts, looking or swinging is red, and with bumps up doing, they usually put the different types of score. It could be with a pitch timer system, as you the K upside down or upside up with a pitch timer violation, which is one of the
That's fascinating. Yeah, I wouldn't have even thought about that with the pitch timer too. You have to come up with a totally different method of designating a strikeout with the pitch timer.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But I decided to add that to my list as well.
That is awesome. All right, Tommy, I have to ask you, how did this all come about? I mean, minor league baseball teams are so lucky to have fans like LaMichael who are in love with the team. And not only that, but, in LaMichael's case, and with so many fans, that love goes back for decades. When did this idea start germinating in the front office? Tell us about the process from when you all first came up with it to, being able to present a bobblehead and be like, hey, by the way, we're going to be giving these out to people on a night in your honor. Take us through the process of it.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, LaMichael is family to us here in Charlotte, and certainly at Truist Field, and he's a staple of the ballpark experience. So, our promo team, our director of promotions, Chris Dillon, and a lot of the promo staff and community relations staff, and just our entire core, just kind of, when they come up with an idea. something as good as this one, we knew it was going to be special. And finding the right way to do it, and LaMichael mentioned it a little while ago, but came up with this idea in the off season, the entire promo team, and then went through the whole process of getting the bobblehead. The box is amazing too. Our graphic designer did an amazing job with that. But that whole process was outstanding. But nothing could top the way LaMichael was surprised. Chris Dillon, our director of promotions, invited LaMichael out to the ballpark for batting practice with the team. Our manager at the time, Justin Jerschley, really helped put all that together. But the entire team was out there on the field. LaMichael was in the cage. He was hitting balls into the outfield. I mean, he was just amazing. And then, as he said, our GM, Rob Egan, came down to the field, and we shared the news with LaMichael that he was getting a bobblehead. And we had one bobblehead at that time, just the model to show him. And, oh, man, he was so excited that smile on his face when he found out. And then just a few, weeks later, we gave out 1,000 of them, which was really special. And, that whole night was really, in my almost 20 years in baseball, was one of the most special nights I've ever been a part of.
And that's what I wanted to get into next. I mean, you talked about breaking the news and showing LaMichael the bobblehead, but what about the night itself? The bobbleheads are obviously something you get at the gate. What were other things going on during the game, that tied into this theme of honoring LaMichael Mitchell? I mean, I'd like to hear from you, Tommy, and then obviously LaMichael, your thoughts on how the night went as well.
Well, I'll start by saying it was a busy week for LaMichael. He had a full media schedule, TV, radio, a bunch of interviews. Everybody was so excited to tell the story. And once we got to the night was couldn't have gone any better. It was beautiful weather. It was a 7:04 first pitch. Gates opened at 6 o'clock. There were people lined up outside the ballpark waiting for his bobblehead. When the gates opened, they grabbed his bobblehead and they ran to the concourse because LaMichael was on the concourse signing bobbleheads. And I got to say, it was one of the longest lines we've had. People were lined up to meet him, take pictures. And LaMichael had his autograph down. He was really good with it, and he was signing a lot of them and taking a lot of pictures. So that was special. The whole night was special. There was an inning where LaMichael did a dance with Homer on the dugout. That was really cool because LaMichael loves to dance too, right? Yeah. And he also did PA announcing. So he was up in the press box for some PA announcements. He was in the booth. Ben, as you mentioned, loves doing play-by-play. He got to do a little play-by-play, the broadcast, which was amazing. And, just a special night. And as he said, there was a bunch of his friends and family and people that knew him from the ballpark here. So the night couldn't have gone any better.
Yes, and to reiterate what Tommy said, it could have been better because, like I said, I love doing play-by-play, and it was great to do play-by-play on the radio for an inning. And the PA announcement was very cool to do announce the night's batters when they come up to the plate. And of course, getting to start the fireworks at the end of the night with several members of my family was very special to cap off this great experience. So, all in all, my night was very exciting and epic.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. And I just want to go back to one part that Tommy was talking about there and ask you about, LaMichael, in terms of your autograph. I mean, that's something that so many of us growing up practiced our autograph just in case we ever made it to the show. And many of us don't, but still many more of us don't get a chance to autograph our own bobblehead. Were you practicing that ahead of time? Like, did you have any flair to your autograph? How'd that work out for you?
Well, I was practicing it for the last few months ahead of a night, trying to see what my signature was. And when the moment came, I was right on it, signing even my initials on my name, on my bobblehead, and the boxes. And it felt great to see thousands of fans coming with my autograph, even when I signed the box or the actual bobblehead itself, which is pretty cool. And I still get asked by my friends around when I go out, say if I wanted my autograph, whenever they see me. And I usually sign them occasionally since they know me.
Nice. Well, this is going to be the final question for me. I mean, you've been around the team for so long, as we've established over and over. Now you got your own bobblehead, but if you were to pitch a bobblehead to the Knights for the 2025 season, either somebody from the current team, somebody you really liked watching over these last 30 years, who do you want to see on the bobblehead schedule next year?
I think for one player that I would just see on the bobblehead schedule next year would to be Colson Montgomery, because he's one of my favorite Knights players. He's having a pretty good season, and it would really be great to see the Knights have a Colson Montgomery bobblehead at some point for a game next season.
Well, Michael, you've talked about doing PA and how you love to do, play by play. So, pretty experienced, with your announcing voice. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was wondering if maybe you could say, I'm LaMichael Mitchell and you're listening. Yeah, we'll use this as we can use this as an ad on the show.
Yeah, right.
I'm LaMichael Mitchell, and you're listening to the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball, or something to that effect. Could we kind of hear how you enunciate when you're doing the play-by-play or doing PA announcing?
Okay. Hello, fans. I'm LaMichael Mitchell, and you're listening to the official podcast of minor league baseball, the Show Before the Show podcast.
Yeah,
Michael's taking my
we
job.
go.
He's
You
taking
got
my
it.
job.
We're using it.
I like it.
If someone has their own bobblehead, they can definitely endorse the show. We appreciate that. Well, LaMichael, Tommy.
I have one more for LaMichael before we go.
All right, close it out, Tyler.
That I understand that you were also knighted, LaMichael, by Homer the mascot during the events on Thursday. First off, the Knights won on Thursday, which is the coolest thing that they could have given you. But you were also knighted. I feel bad that we have not been calling you Sir LaMichael this entire time. What was the knighting process like? Did this happen with a bat? Were you down on a knee? What's the whole process when Homer knights you at a game?
Well, when I saw it several times, because when he pushed the Knights, I had to get down on one knee. He would tap me on one shoulder and on the other. And when I rose up, I became Sir LaMichael, which was a great experience to get knighted by Homer, and I loved it too.
Sir LaMichael. I was saluting. I don't know. Do you salute a sir? I don't know I think we have to bow, right? I think we're bowing to Sir LaMichael Mitchell.
Well, we'll work on our proper knight salutes for next time. But Tommy, LaMichael, thanks so much for joining us on the Show Before the Show podcast and telling us all about this truly spectacular night at the ballpark.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. As I said earlier, I mean, the night couldn't have gone better. It was just amazing. And LaMichael is a big part of the Charlotte Knights experience and being here at the ballpark each and every day. So we're just happy that it was a great night. And thank you guys for reaching out and getting a chance for us to tell the story.
Big thanks to LaMichael and Tommy for joining us. That was a great interview. Now we will stay in AAA, stay in the International League, stay in the United States, but go pretty far away from Charlotte, North Carolina, all the way to St. Paul, Minnesota, where the team's VP and general manager, Derek Sharrer, talks about a Bobblelection like no other. Well, this is obviously a minor league baseball podcast, and we rarely, if ever, wade into the political waters, but we've got to make an exception just this once to talk about the St. Paul Saints and their Bobblelection, which took place on Tuesday night at the St. Paul Saints home of CHS Field, and to talk about this politically themed promotion involving bobbleheads, involving the democratic process, we have Saints General Manager, Executive Vice President, Derek Sharrer. Thanks for being here, Derek.
No, thanks for having me, Ben. And to be clear, we aren't wading into the political world either. We're wading into bobble politics.
Bobble
Very
politics.
different.
All right, that's a term we all have to incorporate into our lexicon going forward. This is bobble politics.
That's right.
We're here to talk about bobble politics, the Bobblelection. This has been something that's been going on in various forums for, I guess, a few decades now. I've associated it in the past with Mike Veck-owned teams, Gold Clan Group, such as the Saints, Charleston River Dogs, Fort Myers Miracle, those kind of teams. So for those who don't know, could you just give us a little background on the premise of what a Bobblelection is?
Sure. It dates back to 2004. What was the first of the Bobblelections, and in essence, it's an opportunity for fans attending the game to make their choice for president in that particular election based on which bobblehead they choose. So as fans enter the gates of the ballpark, on one side you have, let's say, 1,000 bobbleheads of the Republican candidate. On the other side, you have 1,000 bobbleheads of the Democratic candidate, and the first to disappear, in essence, is the winner of the Bobbleelection. And there have been different variations of interesting visual layers to the promotion. That there have been different years where there have been voting booths that you go in and choose which one you're going to take and then come out, or other years, there have been donkeys and elephants present, or elephants are tough to come by. So sometimes it's maybe a donkey wearing an elephant nose, but yeah, always fun. The goal is to have fun with something that obviously can be taken very seriously. And we like to think that people can sort of close out the rest of the world when they walk through our gates. And this is an opportunity to have fun with something that outside of our gates maybe isn't always as much fun.
Yeah, and this year's version had a unprecedented twist, at least unprecedented in Bobbleelection history. The team, you guys put out a video in which you purported to be unaware of this, but that the Democratic Party switched their nominee, and Bobbleheads, they need a lot of lead time, so you guys had to really scramble with this particular Bobbleelection. So if you go into how you dealt with this very unique scenario.
Yeah, I think the best way to phrase it is the show must go on. And we this was an interesting year heading into the election year. Anyway, it's making a determination whether it was a promotion that we were going to continue to do, and ultimately we decided that we would. It's a scenario that we always have to choose in advance of being 100% confident who the candidates are going to be. But typically it's a 3 to 4 to sometimes 5 month lead time to make sure you can have the actual bobbleheads in time. So never 2004, 2008, 12, 16, never have the candidates been 100% clear that early in the process, and never have we been through the convention, the Republican National Convention, the Democratic National, never have those taken place by the time, but with us being able to wait for those to happen before ordering the bobblehead. So it's always been somewhat of a risk, but typically we felt pretty good about the decision, and felt pretty good about who the candidates were going to be. We felt as good as we possibly could going into this one. But then as the summer rolled on and the news continued to break, and the first debate came along, the Biden-Trump debate, and the backlash from that, we started to get a sense that we might be in trouble with our 1,000 Joe Biden bobbleheads. So in essence, one choice would have been to cancel the promotion. Our fans, this market has really had fun with this over the years. So and we didn't, canceling promotions is generally not a thing that we've wanted to do, particularly something that we've had so much fun with over the years, and has become somewhat of a tradition in our ballparks. We just figured out a way to pivot and move forward.
Yeah, and speaking of pivoting, I mean, in that video, it shows you guys literally just putting masking tape for Biden's name and writing Harris over it. You guys shared a picture last night of the Biden bobblehead with like a mini card that says "I support Harris Walls," and it's like rubber banded around his neck as if he's holding like a campaign sign. I mean, how did you guys overcome this? I mean, because I'm sure people were understanding, but it's still, you guys still had to alter it a little bit.
Yeah, just had to have fun with it. Had to figure out a way to have some fun with it. How to, we've got some really talented, creative people in the office here, and the creative team developed an idea, wrote a script, and we went with it. But ultimately, it came down to getting word out to the ticket buyers what they can expect, potential ticket buyers as well, but making sure that they knew what to expect when they got here. We didn't want it to be a surprise and have to explain it on site. So we wanted to make sure that we delivered that message in a fun way, hence the video and the rest of the social media messaging. Wanted to pick the right time to put that messaging out. I suppose we could have put something out immediately after the candidate changed. We decided to kind of wait and think it through a little bit and sort of find that right time. We felt like it was going to be very near the date of the event, so decided to roll that out the day before. And there's always, it's a little tricky too, because there is always news, and sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's sometimes it could be I'm trying to think of the right word here, controversial or maybe just overly newsworthy. So we wanted to be careful about when we were releasing something fun around the election, because not all coverage, not all news about the election is fun by any means. So we wanted to make sure that we were careful about when we put that information out. So, but ultimately it came down to when we opened the gates and people are walking through the gates, our folks standing there handing out the bobbleheads. We're letting people know, welcome to Bobblelection 2024. On your right, you can grab a Donald Trump bobblehead. On your left, you can grab a Harris Waltz bobblehead that looks an awful lot like Joe Biden, because we had to order our bobbleheads in April. So, a little bit of carnival barker activity there at the front gate, but people had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, that brings up my next question in terms of what was the fan reaction? I mean, I'm sure many people are understanding of this, but like on one hand, Joe Biden isn't the candidate. On the other hand, this is such a unique bobbleelection. I could almost see that becoming a collector's item, right? Like the Joe Biden bobblehead that wasn't.
Exactly.
How did people react to seeing it?
Yeah, we joke that it's either the least valuable Joe Biden bobblehead or maybe the most. We don't really know, but I guess time will tell. So no, everybody had fun with it. Everybody had fun with it, and again, elections over the last several years they're a little bit more tense than they were in 2004 and 2008. So it was great to see people having fun with just the idea of an election, and everybody had their jokes as they came up, based on who they were going to choose, or maybe they weren't going to vote at all. They were afraid to vote in public. We had a couple of those. We had folks that wanted to take the candidate that they didn't like so they could do bad things to the bobblehead. We made sure we explained to them that that's their choice, but they're still casting a bobble vote. So yeah, it was. I think at the end of the day, though, the thing that was really fun about opening those gates and seeing people's faces and interacting with them is everybody was having a good time. There were smiles and laughs, and it was just it's nice to see, because that's not necessarily what is portrayed outside of the ballpark gate. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a different election in your area specifically, because this is the first time in a while that somebody from Minnesota is on the ticket.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tim Walz can't be represented on a bobblehead, even if you were ordering that in April. He's not on the top of the ticket. But what is just his standing in the race? I mean, you guys even talked about it in the video. Like, he's scheduled to throw out a first pitch as the governor. Not going to do that. He's doing something else on the road right now. But what has that done just for the interest in the race in general in your area?
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, it's I think it's probably like any state, divided down party lines in some fashion or another. So there are plenty of folks in Minnesota that are very excited to see Tim Walz on the ticket, and he's our guy. And then there are others who probably didn't cast their vote for Governor Walz in the last election that wish that he wasn't running, or maybe they're happy that he's running because they feel like that's good for their guy. So I think it's like any other state would be someone from their state was involved in the ticket. But he's always been fun to work with. Governor Walz been to the ballpark several times for various events, throwing out first pitches, being involved in a celebration a few years back of the 40th anniversary of the greatest day hockey game in the 80 Olympics in Lake Placid. He was at our ballpark in 2021, helping people and inviting people in to get COVID vaccinations as we opened up to play baseball again for the first time after the pandemic. So Governor Walz has been helpful and involved in sports and baseball in particular since he's been in office, and so it's certainly fun to see someone from Minnesota involved.
So it's a Bobbleelection, and the bobblehead is obviously the main element of the promo. But what can fans expect, or what did you experience last night at the ballpark? With other themes or in-game entertainment going on. Do you blow this out just beyond the bobblehead giveaway itself?
Yeah, like any other promotion, always layers to it. Having fun, like we typically we would over the years, including this year, with a couple of different groups from various organizations on either side of the aisle. We'll always reach out equitably to offer group ticket opportunities for different campaign groups and party representation. So we always see blue shirts and red shirts, and everybody having a good time with posters and signs and things along those lines. I joked earlier, but it's the truth. We as you all know, we have our mascot ball pig that gets named every year, and working with the same farmer that we work with to bring in the ball pig every year, we get a couple of animals to represent the party. Again, an elephant's tough to find and have access to. So we have not had an elephant. We have had two donkeys, one of which was wearing an elephant nose. So we did have that at the front gate. We'll have some folks that are dressed up like Secret Service members. So yeah, just anything election based. Try to create as many of the visuals as we possibly can.
Well, I guess to close things out, I would be remiss in my journalistic duties to not ask, what were the results of the 2024 St. Paul Saints Bobbleelection?
Yeah, I don't. So I won't have the exact percentage, but I think we were right around 52% to 48% in favor of the Trump bobblehead. We were clear, though, that when we announced the results, we were clear that the Trump bobblehead was victorious over a Joe Biden bobblehead wearing a Harris Waltz sign. We want to make sure that everybody understands what this Bobbleelection was and what it wasn't. So I don't really have a sense of how much impact, not having the Kamala Harris bobblehead would have had in the election, but I have to believe some. Maybe that would have closed the gap. Who knows? The results last night were somewhere in the range of 52% to 48% in favor of the Trump bobblehead over the Joe Biden bobblehead wearing a Harris Waltz sign around their neck.
Well, it was a strange Bobbleelection, but either way, democracy in action. Yeah. Democracy in action at a minor league ballpark. You love to see it. And if you haven't registered to vote yet, go vote, because I'm sure that a minor league baseball podcast is where you go to get motivated to vote. And until then, we won't have any more political discussion on this show, but big thanks to Derek Sharrer with the St. Paul Saints for filling us in on this unique promotion.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you there in Radio Land must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once provoked cheers from the bleachers and box seats alike. The others were never noticed from anywhere. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball players did at one time exist. A. Baxter Sparks. B. Charlie Twinkles. C. Orson Blazes. You're all aglow if you picked A. Baxter Sparks, who pitched and played the outfield for 9 minor league seasons in the early days of the 20th century. The initial sparks of this impressive career flew in 1904, when Sparks was absolutely on fire in the Class D Delta League. On the mound that season for the Yazoo City Zoos, Baxter Sparks was a beast. He not only led the league with 25 victories, sometimes picking up 2 in one day with a pair of starts across a doubleheader, but posted 21 of those wins in a row. During that undefeated run, Sparks doused the first-place Clarksdale club with a no-hitter. He sparked joy in locals that whole year. At season's end, the Yazoo Herald recounted, "He is not only a fine twirler of balls, but he is also a young man of integrity and high character. Mr. Sparks will go back to his home at Oxford, and after a few weeks of preparation, enter the University of Virginia at Charlottesville." When spring rolled around in 1905, Sparks was again focused on baseball, although his light twinkled in several different places in leagues across the summer. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported in May that the Southern Association team in that town had landed Sparks, but he was still pitching an independent ball elsewhere in Mississippi well into the summer. In August, he was still jumping around between the Grenada, Mississippi club and the Greenwood team, and he also played for teams in Laurel and Aberdeen, Mississippi that year. Later reports indicate that he got married that season, which may or may not have had something to do with his staying put in Mississippi that summer. Sparks caught on in more regular roles in the years to come, finally joining Atlanta for the 1906 season and pitching for Augusta, Richmond, and Danville in 1907, 08, and 09 respectively. It wasn't until 1910 and 1911 that Sparks pitched for the same team in back-to-back seasons, the Vicksburg Hillbillies. And he went right Baxter them again in 12, too. He pitched the final season for the Meridian Metropolitans in 1913. Although he was routinely described as tiny in the press throughout his days and was sometimes referred to as the Mississippi Midget, Sparks was a pretty big deal on the mound. With that Augusta club in 07, he threw a 15-inning shutout, allowing just 5 hits the whole time. And he might not have been as small as his reputation suggested either. One paper once reported, "He weighs well over 140 pounds and is of the chunky mold." Whatever his physique, Sparks was bright enough to make it as a manager in the days after his playing career, helming teams in the Mississippi State League and the Cotton States League well into the 1920s. In 1924, though, the Cotton States League introduced a rule stating that no club could have more than one player with any more than 10 games experience at a higher level than Class D, and the Vicksburg Post ran a story headlined, "New Class D rule is not approved by Baxter Sparks." In June, he resigned from the job. And that's how Baxter Sparks burnt out. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these teams knew how to kick up its feet in the minors of yesteryear? A. The Vernon Vacationeers. B. The Traverse City Resorters. C. The Caldwell Sitbackers. Want to know the answer? Take it easy. Or tune in to the next Ghost of the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is walking his goldfish, and I've got to find a bowl and a hole.
Final segment on this week's episode of the show before the show. It's been a fun episode this week, but we are far from done because it is time for this week's edition of Name That Dude, in which one of us comes up with some random dude who played Major League and Minor League Baseball in recent years, recent memory, and the other two have to guess that dude. Sam is the dude knower this week, which makes Ben and me the dude guessers. And Sam, take it away.
Before I pass this mic to Sam, I just want to say we need a Name That Dude theme song, and I imagine we might have some musicians that listen to this show. So if you want to write a little catchy Name That Dude jingle that we can use for free and not have to worry about any licensing, we will credit you endlessly and love you forever. But I think we need a little jingle. That's all I got.
I like that idea a lot, actually.
And we'll keep that wide open too. Like, we get 5 submissions, we can just cycle through all 5.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll give you credit.
Yeah, I like that. We'll plug,
yeah,
tour dates upcoming. Check, bloodmonkey.com for upcoming. I don't know. That sounds like a band name, right? This week's episode of Name That Dude brought to you by Blood Monkey. I bet if I Googled Blood Monkey band right now, I bet there is one. Anyway, Sam, take it away. I'll give you the Blood Monkey discography. Blood Monkey band. I hope it doesn't come up with like surgical photos. There's a band apparently called Monkey Blood. Oh no, there is. There's an artist on Apple Music called Blood Monkey. All right, good. I'm set. Anyway, all right. Go for it. Now I have to contact the folks at Blood Monkey and be like, you're not going to yell at me, are you? Sam, please take it away.
This has all been a backdoor promotion for Tyler's new band called Blood Monkey. Oh, is there one that exists? Let me just check. Oh, yes, they are.
Happens. Oh, would you look at that on the harmonica? It's Tyler Bond. I wish. And I wish. Anyway.
Anywho. All right. So in this week's edition of Name That Dude, this is a player who was drafted twice. First in 1988 in the 12th round out of Dwight D. Eisenhower High School in Yakima, Washington, a former minor league town. Did not sign with the Phillies that year. Then was drafted by the Boston Red Sox in the first round, 43rd overall. So it's pretty expanded beyond what we normally deem the first round of the 1991 draft out of Washington State. So somebody who stayed local. Tyler, you're already... Oh yeah, you would... I forget. You spent some time at Washington State.
I did.
Do you already know who this is?
I think I do. Is it
All
John?
right, we're gonna... What?
Is it... you didn't... I don't want to... You said, all right, we're gonna... And so I don't want to... I'm gonna...
Let's at least get through the minor league portion of this guy's career. And then, okay. I didn't think that through when I chose this guy. I'm going to be honest. But I thought he would be easy for other reasons. So 1991, drafted, signed, played 64 games after the draft. 56 of those are at Winter Haven in the Florida State League, the Winter Haven Red Sox, of course. And then 8 of them are with the Lynchburg Red Sox in the Carolina League. 1992, spends it entirely in New Britain in the Eastern League, back when New Britain was a Red Sox affiliate, again called the New Britain Red Sox. We didn't really have very creative names back then. It was a different time. The New Britain Red Sox in 1992 only hit 1 home run that year in 103 games, finished with a 626 OPS. 1993, back with New Britain, batted .278 with a 393 OBP, 432 slugging percentage, hit 7 homers in 68 games, 824 OPS, and then moved on to the Pawtucket Red Sox for 18 games in his age 23 season. 94, split time between New Britain and Pawtucket once again. 95 with Pawtucket, 85 games, and made his major league debut with the Red Sox in 95. Was with the Red Sox for 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, and then moved on to his second organization, the Oakland Athletics, and I think that might be the giveaway. Played for the A's for 4 seasons and then finished up his career with 3 seasons for the Reds. His final year in Major League Baseball was 2008. There was some rehab time in there. He spent time with the Red Sox affiliate in Sarasota for 1 game in 1999, but pretty much after 1999, he was only in the major leagues. So those are the clues so far. Ben, I want to see if you have a guess before Tyler probably blows this open.
My first guess was wrong. I will say my first guess was John Olerud. Not John.
No. Once you found out this guy played in the minors, you knew it wasn't John Olerud.
Yeah. And yeah. Ben, please. Yeah. I think I know. But
yeah, I thought I'd have something, and I don't really. You said A's, and I just wanted to say Jack Cust, but it wasn't Jack Cust. He
wasn't
didn't
Jack
play all
Cust.
those years with the Red
No.
Sox.
No, he
I
didn't.
just wanted to say his name.
Jack Cust was a great, he was a great, just like, remember when he just burst onto the scene and hit like in his debut season? Let's see what Jack Cust's rookie numbers were. He was just one of those like, who is this dude who's just crushing balls all over the place? Jack Cust in his first big breakout season with the A's hit 26 home runs and drove in 82 runs in 124 games. You're just like, where did this guy come from? He was fun, Jack Cust.
It was definitely not Jack Cust. See, it's a good name to say. But
It is.
I feel like I should have it. Red Sox to A's, that many years of the Red Sox, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm weak.
Tyler?
When you said he's with the A's, and I think that's the giveaway, I think that's when I zeroed in on it. Is it Scott Hatteberg?
Scott Hatteberg is correct.
Yep.
I probably shouldn't have said, I almost thought about saying like, and then he played a few more years after that. And I don't want to say the teams because, I mean, it's a part of film lore at this point.
Right.
It's part of book lore, film lore.
Yeah.
Because what does Scott Hatteberg do? He gets on base. But it's funny to look at his baseball reference page and like knowing what we know now about OBP and stuff. That final year before he went from the Red Sox to the A's, his OBP was 332.
Oh,
now I know he was dealing with like elbow trouble and all that, and he was just a few years removed from having a 410 OBP for the Sox in '99. Only that was over 100 plate appearances, but like, it's not like he was.
Yeah, that's true. He wasn't reaching
Euclid or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's use another Moneyball name.
He did. He went from 332 in his final season of Boston to 374 the next year. With the A's in that 2002 season. But yeah, he only posted one above 400 OPS season in his career, which was that 410 year with the Red Sox in '99.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like the strikeout to walk ratio in 2001, he had more walks than strikeouts. That looks nice, especially now, the way the game has gone, right?
In his career, he has more walks than strikeouts, 562 to 503, which nowadays you look at it and you're just like, man, that's possible over the course of an entire career? If you're not Luis Arias? Huh? Scott Hatteberg.
Yeah, but Scott Hatteberg played 14 years in the major leagues, finished with 106 home runs, 7 years with the Red Sox, as we mentioned, 4 with the A's, and then 3 with the Reds at the tail end.
And was played by the then still normal looking Chris Pratt in Moneyball, before he became like an action hero. Remember when Chris Pratt was just like a pudgy dude who was like in TV and movies, and I was like, oh, now you're a superhero now? Okay. Yeah, Scott Hatteberg. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Name That Dude. If you are in Blood Monkey or any other band and you would like to contribute a potential theme song for Name That Dude, podcast@milb.com is the place to send it. Even if you're just somebody who wants to sing a little Name That Dude ditty into your phone and email it to us, we're not above using that on this episode of the show, before the show, or any other. So please get in touch, podcast@milb.com. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. Send us any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, anything else you got. Podcast@milb.com. For Benjamin Hill, for Sam Dykstra, for Josh Jackson with Ghost of the Miners, and all the rest, my name is Tyler Moore, and we'll catch you next week.